The winter of 1887 was one of the harshest the Appalachian Mountains had seen in decades. Snow covered the endless ridges like a white ocean, stretching far beyond the horizon. Ancient pine forests stood silent beneath the moonlight, their branches heavy with ice. Cold winds swept through the valleys, producing strange echoes that sometimes sounded disturbingly human. High above a forgotten valley stood a lonely stone convent known as St. Adelmar's Convent, built nearly a century earlier. The convent rested upon a rocky ridge, overlooking miles of wilderness. Its black stone walls had been weathered by time, and its tall Gothic windows reflected the pale glow of the moon. Rising above the surrounding forest was a bell tower that looked less like part of a church and more like a watchman guarding some ancient secret. The villagers below rarely spoke about the convent. Whenever its name was mentioned, voices grew quiet and cautious. 4 generations, the mountain people had passed down an old saying: as long as the lights of St. Adelmar's burn, the mountain remains asleep. No one truly understood what the saying meant, but everyone respected it. 19 nuns lived inside the convent. During the day, they cared for the sick, taught local children, and helped travelers who became lost in the mountains. They appeared gentle, kind, and devoted to their faith. However, when night fell, their behavior changed completely. Every evening, just before midnight, the nuns gathered inside the chapel carrying antique or lanterns. The warm golden flames flickered against the stone walls, creating moving shadows that seemed alive in the darkness. The nuns never laughed after sunset. They rarely spoke above a whisper. Most strangely of all, they never slept, not one of them. It was the oldest and strictest rule of St. Adelmar's Convent. No noon was ever permitted to fall asleep during the night. In December of 1887, a young country doctor named Jonathan Hale arrived at the convent after receiving an urgent request for medical assistance. The moment he entered the building, he noticed something deeply unsettling. The nuns looked exhausted, their faces were pale, dark circles surrounded their eyes, and several appeared so weak that they struggled to stand. They looked less like healthy women and more like people fighting a battle invisible to everyone else. What illness are they suffering from? Jonathan asked Mother Agnes. The convent's leader. Mother Agnes stared at him silently before replying. They are not ill, Doctor. Jonathan frowned. Then why do they look like this? Mother Agnes glanced toward the chapel. Because they have remained awake. That answer only deepened Jonathan's curiosity. Determined to learn the truth, he stayed awake that night to observe their strange ritual. Shortly before midnight, the chapel doors opened. One by one, the 19 nuns entered carrying their lanterns. Hundreds of candles illuminated the vast stone chamber, and the scent of burning wax filled the air. Long shadows danced across towering columns, while the nuns formed a circle around the center of the chapel floor. Then they began to pray, their voices rising softly through the darkness. For nearly an hour, nothing happened. Then Jonathan heard it, a knock. The sound came from beneath the chapel floor. At first it was a single knock, slow, deliberate. Every noon immediately fell silent. Jonathan's heart began to race. A second knock echoed through the chamber, followed by a third. The sound was unmistakable. Something beneath the chapel was trying to get out. Yet none of the nuns appeared surprised. Instead, they resumed praying with even greater urgency. Dust-covered books filled towering shelves, and forgotten journals lay hidden inside old wooden cabinets. After hours of searching, he discovered a leather-bound diary dated 1771. Its yellowed pages crackled as he opened it. He found the first entry, then in faded ink. A door was discovered beneath the mountain. Further down the page, another sentence caught his attention. Behind the door lives a thing that feeds upon dreams. As long as the lights remain burning, the door remains sealed. A chill ran through his body. Turning another page, he found dozens of names. Everyone belonged to a nun who had once lived at St. Adelmar's. Beside each name were the same haunting words. She fell asleep. That night a violent blizzard struck the mountain. Snow battered the windows, while powerful winds screamed across the ridge. Inside the chapel, the 19 nuns stood holding their lanterns tighter than ever as their prayers echoed through the darkness. Then Sister Maria began to sway. She had become too exhausted. Her eyes slowly closed. Mother Agnes rushed toward her. "Stay awake," she cried, but it was too late. For only a few seconds, Maria fell asleep. Instantly, every lantern went dark. The chapel plunged into absolute blackness. For a brief moment, there was complete silence. Then a horrifying scream erupted from beneath the floor. The stone foundations trembled violently, and cracks spread across the chapel floor like spiderwebs. Jonathan stumbled backward in terror. From the darkness below, two enormous red eyes slowly opened. They were ancient, hungry, and utterly inhuman. The nuns began praying desperately. With trembling hands, Mother Agnes struck a match and relit her lantern. The instant light returned. The eyes vanished. The shaking stopped. Silence filled the chapel once more. But Sister Maria was gone. Only her lantern remained lying alone on the cold stone floor. That was the night Jonathan finally understood the truth. The nuns did not remain awake every night simply to worship. For more than 100 years, they had stood watch over something buried beneath St. Adelmar's convent, something ancient, patient, and endlessly hungry. It fed upon dreams, waited in darkness, and needed only one sleeping soul to begin breaking free. And if the lights of St. Adelmar's ever went out forever, the mountain would wake.